Welcome back to Bullet Catcher Gaming. This is, of course, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Now, as you would have seen by the title of this video, it's entitled, What is the Right Way to Play Ghost Recon Breakpoint? Now, you might be thinking, well, there is no right way to play it. You should be able to play it however you want. And I completely agree. When you buy the game, obviously, you can play it entirely however you want. Now, I wanted to make the video because there's an interesting dynamic, I think, from the way when you first purchased the game, how you would play it initially, than how it's probably played by a lot of people now. And not that many games tend to be like that. Yeah, there are some, and especially in kind of military tactical kind of games, it tends to be like that. But a lot of other games don't really work like that. So I find it interesting. So I thought we'd have a look at it. So I'm not going to include the PC Spartan mod into this because that's its own thing. It's a mod. It's not official. So I'm not going to be talking about that as such. So we're going to have a look at where most people would begin. Now, some people obviously have been playing this game now for well over 2 years, and others might have only picked it up recently. They might still be adapting in the way that they play. So we thought we'd have a look at the options, go through them, and then at the end I'm going to take you through some ways that I like to play the game. And you can then let us know in the comments below, are there any different ways that you like to play the game? So let's start off. So most people, when they purchased the game or when they first got the game, obviously some of the options weren't there, like the Ghost experience, but they are there now. So you do have the option of whether you want to do immersive or gear score or whatever. But most people start the game like this. So it tends to be, a lot of people just have everything on their HUD. It's all turned on. I imagine that the settings are probably on the easier scale as you go through the missions, things like that. Now, it could be that you came from Wildlands and you've played Wildlands, but you hadn't picked up Breakpoint. And you'd already got to that point where you found that a bit too easy and you adapted. You've come straight in and adapted immediately and turned off some of that HUD. But I think a lot of new players that are maybe new to the franchise will come in and play the game kind of like you're seeing now. So with everything on, a full HUD, probably the difficulty scale being very low, and kind of getting through the missions and all the rest of it. Now, I know a lot of people will instantly kind of, veterans of the game, including myself, would hate to play the game like this because it's just too easy. You can be almost a bullet sponge yourself. It's almost impossible to die. Your health regens almost immediately. But, I can see why people would want to play it. And when it comes down to it, you can play the game however you want because you paid for it. So, but in this game and in this community, I've been in the community a long time now. I know that a lot of people do not play the game like this. So where do you move on from then once you've kind of, this is too easy for me? Well, I think what most people tend to do is they start to move from this into a kind of between this and that kind of elite mode. They want to start testing themselves. So here's a rough idea of it in the background at the moment. And it is kind of, they start to just mess around with the settings a little bit. And like on here, for example, the map's turned off and you start to mess around with, maybe lowering the amount of bandages you've got. You up the difficulty slightly. It could be, you may go up to, not all the way to elite, but one of the other two in between perhaps, make it a little bit harder. You might just mess around with it just a little bit more. You might still want to keep on, your weapons, what you've got because you're still getting used to that. What all your gadgets are, things like that. But, you might want to turn off the enemy reactions, things like that, being able to spot you, but you might still keep your teammates on, things like that. So it's a kind of mixture of a bit of everything. You might just dabble and decide what it is you like and what you don't like. So once you've kind of gone through that and you suddenly start getting a feel for what this game is and how it plays, and maybe you found some weapons that you do like, where do you head next? Now, I think this is where a lot of people do head, and obviously like milsim communities, things like that, and not even just milsim. I'm not in a milsim community, and I play like this a lot. I think a lot of players tend to head straight into the no HUD stealth elite settings. A lot of Breakpoint YouTubers, for example, tend to exclusively play like this most of the time. A lot of milsim groups, like I said, play like this. And when you watch a lot of people's videos on YouTube, or whether it's on Twitch or whatever, they tend to go full no HUD and prioritize stealth over anything else. Now, obviously, that is engaging, because obviously you do have to have quite a high skill tree to be able to do this. A lot of people find stealth in, especially some of the harder bases, very challenging, and it can be challenging, but I think the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It is a huge challenge. Now, I play with a lot of different people who have variations on the no HUD. Some people, for example, will still keep certain markers on so you can see exactly where you're going, or set an objective effectively. And others will keep like the compass on, for example, so they can call out, enemy southwest, things like that, which makes perfect sense. I tend to try and make it, like a lot of other people do. I turn off everything, and this is how I tend to play all the time. I find it is the best challenge. I don't want to know where anyone is. I don't even use the drone. I know a lot of people won't use drones. I'll utilize still my night vision and things like that, and thermal. But you can make it even harder by not doing that, of course. But yeah, I think this is a mode, I think, where this is where most of us are, and it's just really interesting to me that the game you have to go through tons of settings to go and turn all this stuff off. Yes, you can go and shortcut some of it in the Ghost Experience settings, but it won't get rid of everything. You've got to switch off your weapons, and you tend to go just the one weapon. I don't know why. It seems to be kind of looked down upon that if you do stealthing and you've got two weapons. I'm not sure where that comes from. It's a weird kind of Breakpoint elitism kind of thing that, oh no, you must only have one primary weapon. But it's really weird because, I'm not a Breakpoint snob or whatever you want to call it, but I also kind of look down at it and kind of go, which is so weird. It's like, oh, no, you can't have two weapons. It's really stupid, really, if you think about it. Like I said at the beginning, you should be able to play it however you want, and you can. But it's just strange. So, yeah, it's just really weird that how we play the game kind of affects, and I'm sure it affects who you play with as well. Like if you have people sometimes that come in, even though the game will adapt to it, if you're playing with people that only want to play on easy with everything on, and you want to do kind of stealth the bases and play completely no HUD on elite, it can actually be massively frustrating. I've done it before, and people are running around in bases, and you're trying to be, you're going to get shot pretty much once by a sniper and you're dead. And you can just see their health bar regenning automatically. And it is quite frustrating because they can give the enemy away because they don't care so much. And then one shot and you're down. And then you actually get these people saying to you, they think that you're not very good. And you're like, no, you just ruined it. And now I'm dead because of you. And it's really weird. It's kind of strange. But, this is what makes the community fascinating, the way we play and things like that. But one of the ways that I actually like to play, and I'll show some footage in the background, and it's not necessarily the best footage that I've got from this, but it's just typical. When I went to go and record it, they weren't the best ones going, but it works really well, and for me, it's the most challenging way of playing the game. Actually, do you know what? Before I get on to that, I will obviously, I'm sorry to anyone out there who does love Gear Score, because shame on me for not covering it at all. I do use Gear Score for the raid. I don't tend to use Gear Score for any other time, and I think a lot of players do still use Gear Score. In a recent survey, we were asking about this, and a lot of people said they don't want to see Gear Score again. And I'll be honest, I personally agree with that. I don't want it either. But people do still use it. I mean, it is a quicker way of picking up certain assets and gaining money and things like that by selling off everything you pick up. But overall, do I like it? No, I don't. I really do not like Gear Score. I don't think it should be in a Ghost Recon game, but feel free to disagree with me all day long in the comments below. Go for it. So yeah, I didn't want to miss that out, so apologies. Obviously, Gear Score is in there, and that is another way to play the game. But my particular favourite way to play the game is, so no HUD again, and obviously everything turned off as normal. But this time, instead of stealthing, and don't get, like I said, there's a lot of, you need talent and you need skill, and you need patience to stealth a base and clear it single-handedly, on Elite. It's not easy, but I actually prefer doing it kind of the other way round. So grab yourself, you can do it on your own, but it's very, very difficult. Grab yourself a full team of 4 with your buddies. I probably wouldn't bother with your AI teammates, if I'm honest. Normally get in a helicopter, something like that. Find a base that you want to do. Some bases work better for this than others, because you want like a central location somewhere in the middle of the base that you can either land on top of or use the building to get into and parachute out. And once you hit the bottom, you can either, like I said, land on the roof or get inside the building. And then what you want to do is make as much noise as possible. So throw out some grenades and all the rest of it. And kind of utilize your 4-man team to try and survive whilst the whole base comes down on top of you on Elite. That is actually, for me, way, way harder than it is, stealthing a base on Elite. It's much, much harder, because you're getting shot from everywhere, you're getting grenades thrown at you. If it's a wolf base, that obviously they're a bit more armored and all the rest of it. It is a massive, huge challenge. There are variations on how you can do it. For example, we've done it before here, where we went into one of the tunnels and tried to see if we could get the whole base to come into the tunnel. I think about half to 60% of the base did make their way down into the tunnel, and then the other 40% were like, nah, because we don't want to go down there. So we then had to venture back up. So that didn't work quite as well. But you can see here, like, where we've landed on top of a small building. This is a much smaller base, but everyone will see you in the base. That's the good thing. So you'll get everyone challenging you. Throwing grenades up on the roof, stuff like that. It's just a really fun way to play. It really does utilize teamwork with your friends, because you're constantly reviving each other. You've got to make sure that you've crafted all your syringes and things like that, because you are going to need them. You will get shot at a lot and probably killed a lot. And it's just trying to see, can you last out the whole time, and kill everyone in the base and without your team being completely wiped. It's a fascinating way of playing the game. And like I said, there is no right and wrong way of playing the game. But if how do you like to play the game? Do you do it something different? I mean, we've made videos before, Escape and Evasion. We still play Escape and Evasion. It's just a fun, different mode where, you've got to try and get away from, one person gets away from your free teammate. The game's not made for it. We kind of, it's like forced, but it can work. How else do you play it? I mean, Tyrant Slayer, who we lost recently, he used to play his survival mode, where you would start with just your pistol, and whoever the enemy you killed, you could pick up their weapon only, and then would do it on Elite, that kind of thing. That was a really fun way of playing. But honestly, give it a go. From how I was playing it here, you haven't even got a parachute in. It's just the easiest way to get in. And bizarrely, sometimes you can still not get spotted. You'd think you would do, especially on Elite, but not always. So yeah, just flying on in there, parachute out, land in the middle, make a big noise, and then just wait for everyone to come down on you. Sometimes it can be quite hilarious where, you're thinking, actually, this is not that hard. And then you discover that there's like 25 guys in the building below you when you're sitting on the roof, and you finally head downstairs and get absolutely annihilated, as you can see right here. But there we go. So what is the right way to play? What's the best way to play? How do you like to play the game? If I missed anything else, any other kind of ways of playing the game that other people have come up with, let us know. I'd be massively interested to see what you've got to say. Yeah, really interesting. So thank you. Thanks for watching. I look forward to reading your comments, and I will reply. We got a Discord, links in the description below. Take care. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.